about this mechanically totaled 2006 Mercedes R500 from famed YouTuber Sam Crack. Although cosmetically it wasn't too bad, mechanically it was a nightmare. I've done a lot of basic maintenance to get to a point where I can drive, including having to completely overhaul the AC and change everything. The brake was non-existent, so I had to replace master cylinder, I had to replace brake lines, try to get all the bubbles out of the ABS, and like any good 20-year-old Mercedes, every bushing in the suspension was shot. I also done a few minor things like making the tailgate work and putting in a new fuel filter, and now I'm ready to tackle some of the cosmetic elements like in this video. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm still working on the 2006 Mercedes R500, and today I want to do a couple of simple cosmetic things. The first one is going to be on the steering wheel. The buttons on the steering wheel are worn out and they really bother me, and they were so filthy when I got them and I tried to clean them, and it kind of wore off some of the paint, as you can see. So I'm going to pull out the steering wheel, and I bought Chinese buttons. Let's see if it's going to work. First I got to pull out the negative battery cable, and we do that by coming to the passenger seat, pulling this out. So I got to pull this one. All right, here's our terminal, and this is a 10 mil. So to remove the airbag, you're going to need a T27, and you're going to have to stick it behind the steering wheel. And I think it's just best if I turn it on the side.
And there is a hole each side behind the airbag, and it's a T27, like I said. Just unscrew it. Alright. It is unscrewed.
Pull the airbag and disconnect the squibs. Why is it called squib? And I think we gotta disconnect here. Yeah, so we can pull out, and this here. Let me just put this straight. This one is an Allen number 10. Right in. Holy sh**. Okay. Yeah, it is a thread sealant. Okay. I'm just going to make sure that this clock spring does not move around. Now I have the steering wheel on a counter, and I am starting to disassemble. I just disconnected an electrical connector, and there are two torque screws that you have to remove, one in the front and one in the back. That one I removed is for the paddle shifters in the back, because you have to remove them so you can access another torque screw, so you can remove the buttons in the front. So let me get this off. Now you can gently pull the front buttons, and there you go. And we have, I think, 3 Phillips screws here that we need to take off, so we can disassemble this and replace the worn out buttons. After you take out the screws, you're going to have to pry on these tabs. Now be very gentle, because they're probably going to be brittle. And once you manage to press on the tabs, you can separate the back part of the buttons, and you can expose the electronic plate, which you remove, of course, and then you'll have access to the buttons where you can press them forward. There are little tabs holding them, so you just have to press them in with a screwdriver, and then they're just going to pop out, and you're going to be able to replace with new buttons. There you go. That's how you remove it. As Chris Fix would say, out with the old, in with the new. So I have the new button, and putting it in is as simple as just pressing it in. You're going to see it's simple, and that's it. And now I just have to repeat the whole process for the other 3 buttons, which again, no big deal. Just press on the tab, pull them out, get the new one, and just press them in. This is a relatively simple job to do, and it's so satisfying, and it's also cheap, right? These buttons are really cheap. But having the new buttons on the car, because you're grabbing on the steering wheel and you're pressing on these buttons all day long, so having the new buttons on the car gives me great satisfaction. So I highly encourage you to do this. I won't say this is a beginner job, but it's definitely not a super hard job. The only thing you have to be really careful when you're messing with the airbags is to make sure you disconnect the battery. And also make sure you only connect the battery once everything's in place. And if you do that, if you play on the safe side, you're going to be okay. Now that I got all the buttons in place, let's put everything together. Here's the backing plate, or the whatever this is called. And I make sure that the buttons are working 1,000 times before I put them together, because I don't want to take them apart again. And putting them back on the steering wheel is the same process, but reversed. And I'm not going to bore you with the buttons on the right side. I'm just going to connect everything, put it back in the car, and let you know if it actually worked. So here's the end result. I think it looks 1,000 times better than it did with the worn out buttons, and I'm super happy I did this. So let's see how it looks in a car. That's it, everyone. I just replaced the buttons, and I showed you the whole process, and I just tested them. They're all working absolutely fine. Yeah, all the buttons are working. It was relatively easy. I was just careful not to break stuff, not to break the clock spring. You saw, I'm going to do the center vents in a different video because I think this one is long enough. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Thank you.